In late 2015, I started making a documentary with renowned journalist Liam Clarke. In his career, Liam broke some of the biggest stories of the Troubles. 3 years ago, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. We were making a film about how people deal with death.
I seem to get on better with people after the Troubles because obviously I was writing things that were maybe people would be more annoyed at, and I sometimes wonder if people have been nicer to me because I'm ill, you know. But I don't really need to be treated by kid gloves. I'm not that far down yet.
We couldn't have known that our time working together would be shorter than we hoped. Liam's family wanted to help tell this story.
It's made him want to demystify the process for other people as well as himself and the family.
I've thought of setting ashes up on a rocket and so on, but I think I'll not bother with that now. Look, when you're young, you hear about people dying and you basically think that's for somebody else. You don't realise the finality of it. As you get older, you do, and I think it changes your perspective. I think it's a very valuable thing to recognise.
The first time I met Liam, I was struck by the vast amount of stuff that was packed into his home.
We used to travel long abroad a lot before they started weighing it in planes, and I brought lots of things back. For instance, can you believe that they would let you put that in your luggage from the Dominican Republic and bring it back solid mahogany?
His house was full of mementos from holidays, exotic Eastern artefacts, and mountains of books.
Buddhism, it gives you an interest in sort of exotic things. Those are Thai Buddhas, they are dancing Buddhas.
Do you do the dusting there?
Well, in Zen you're supposed to be spare and to have clean lines and all that, but I haven't quite mastered that yet.
Liam was not what I expected, with his mix of Eastern mysticism and Northern Ireland politics.
I would do probably most of my work on the phone, so this is my normal environment, this room.
It was a tip. His office was the messiest room in the house. Books, tapes, research papers, chewing gum stuck to the desk. How did he get any work done?
During the Troubles, security was a main interest. Exposing abuses by the state or who was behind paramilitary campaigns. It was a good opportunity to be a journalist, although tragic circumstances.
Liam's 30-year career as a journalist was impressive and pretty intimidating. He had personally broken some of the biggest stories of the Troubles.
I don't really go along with this idea that there are several truths and everybody has a truth. Something happens, and I think it's a job of the press to tell you what happens.
He had a reputation for being fearless in pursuit of a story.
I've breached official secrecies, I've annoyed people. When we were in the middle of a conflict, I wanted to find out what was going on, and people didn't want to know.
Liam persisted even in the face of death threats from paramilitaries and legal threats from the state.
There's one from the Sunday Times. There was an injunction against me writing about material that I discovered. You know, I'd been arrested and so on, and then they did this picture at my hands stapled to the desk, so I can't do my work. I've always been fascinated by espionage, official secrecy, how, what makes people loyal to each other, what makes people betray each other. I've always been interested in that. I think it's really essential to human nature. Kathy, where's the evidence bags?
In the garage.
Liam wanted to show me evidence of one of his most notorious run-ins with authority.
That's evidence file.
Liam's wife Kathy was also a successful journalist. They had written a controversial biography of Martin McGuinness. It got them into a bit of bother.
We were both arrested and put into the serious crime suite in Antrim Police Station.
This was over the tap phone calls of Martin McGuinness, which we published in the book.
Once you enter into the course of action like that, you have to see it through. And if you believe that what you're doing is right, you go ahead with it.
I wondered if Liam still had the strength to fight those types of battles. Has your illness affected your writing?
Well, I find my energy levels aren't quite as good now. I've written about my illness a bit, but not particularly. I think that it's probably made me a more compassionate person. But I don't know, or more, less. It makes me less think that I should pursue a fight or a vendetta with somebody. That things maybe should be let go a bit more. Though I can't say that I never snap at anyone.
One thing that's impressed me about you is the honesty with which you've written about your condition.
I had to tell some people at work and so on, and you create a very awkward position where you're telling somebody and they're having to keep it quiet and so on. So I felt it was best just to be open, and what's the point of keeping it quiet anyway?
Liam fought hard for his stories, but now he was facing his greatest battle. He had terminal stomach cancer. I wondered how Liam managed to cope with such a shadow hanging over him. Liam became a Zen Buddhist when he was 50. Watching him meditate, I thought that this was an odd choice for a hard-nosed journalist.
I think I've mellowed as I got older. Probably Zen has mellowed me a bit. It's hard to tell because I don't know what it would be like if I hadn't done it. Quite often for a lot of people it brings about a little bit, a softening of the attitude. As a journalist I have to fight against that. You can't be too soft as a journalist, but you have to find the medium in life.
Liam brought me to visit his father. He asked me to be careful with what I said. What's he called, Liam?
Bill.
His dad had dementia. When it came to his own illness, Liam decided to protect his father from the facts.
I didn't want to tell him because I knew that he wouldn't remember it properly. And he has always had an absolute horror of cancer, because for most of the period when he was growing up, nobody ever got cured of it, and it was an immediate sort of death sentence. Right, mission accomplished. I'll give you the vodka and Coke.
Liam had a religious upbringing. His dad was a Presbyterian minister.
I don't know that we discussed religion much. No. I went to I went to Sunday school, and you told me about the Bible and so on. I learned that.
You went to church too?
I did, and I went to communion class and so on.
That's right, you did.
But then I ended up taking up Zen meditation after. Did that annoy you at all?
No, I never thought. I mean, sure, you have your life to live, and Christianity is the meditation too.
Oh, well, some do both.
Thanks very much indeed.
My view on God is I don't find it useful to think of a personality ruling the universe. I don't find it helps me, but I do believe that there's something uniting everything, that it's, reality is of a piece. I mean, do you find that difficult? Did I think that?
No, that's an area that you haven't properly got through yet.
Uh-huh. So you think I'll learn?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
That we all do.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not confused with many things with it.
Yeah, I'm all over the place.
No doubt about that.
I'm all over the place.
I was beginning to see Liam as more than just a journalist.
There's one you like of me.
That's like you. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. And Kathy, what age were you when you met Liam?
20.
Just a child?
Just a child. Been together now for 40 years and don't seem to take too long,
That's
If it
what you
wasn't
say.
so croaky, I'd sing it. Some of us
But I couldn't say it was never a crossword, could you?
No, I couldn't. Some of us huff and some of us don't.
I pretty much knew I was going to stick with you, actually.
Too romantic?
No, but I really like Kathy. I like the look of her, I like her personality.
After all those years together, Liam's cancer meant that their future could be cut short.
We always want to know exactly what is going to happen and exactly when it's going to happen. And uncertainty, I think, is one of the most difficult things of all to deal with. You want to prepare yourself, and especially the kids, for what might lie in front of you. It's not something that you can map out, but I suppose you do want to know what you're prepared for as much as possible.
Liam had been hoping that his cancer was slowing down, but now his oncologist had asked to see him. It sounded like bad news.
It's a little alarming when you get something that says, well, no, you still have got this, it's still moving. I think it's worse for the relatives and the sufferer than the person who's got the disease. The relationship to the person changes and maybe feel they're walking on eggshells, they shouldn't be saying things. I think it's difficult for relatives that can get pushed into the sort of role of carer later on if it lingers on too long. And it's quite hard to deal with that.
Liam's cancer had spread from his stomach to his lung.
And is that quite big, quite a lot of growth over the period, or is it modest growth?
It's not a large nodule.
That's visible, all right.
I don't know what quite to make of it. It is getting bigger.
Well, if the abdomen's going to progress further, faster, then there's not much point in worrying about this. I suppose that's what you're...
But it is getting bigger, I suppose that's my concerns about it.
Birds will gather at my side. Tears will gather in my eyes. Throw my head and cry.
When you're young, you hear about people dying, and you basically think that's for somebody else. That's in most of our minds. Kids have fantasies quite often about dying and everybody being sorry and apologising to them. They don't realise the finality of it. As you get older, you do, and I think it changes your perspective. I think it's a very valuable thing to recognise.
No matter what?
Well, no matter what, I mean, it's pointless. It's pointless hiding from it. Nobody. I mean, I wouldn't pretend it wanted to come quicker than it needs to, but it's pointless hiding for it or being in denial or that sort of thing.
Far from being in denial, Liam seemed determined to find answers not only to my questions, but to his own. Even over the Christmas break, he was sending me his ideas for who we should talk to and what we should film next. Just after Boxing Day, I got a call from Liam's phone, but it was Kathy's voice on the other end. She told me that Liam had died. I couldn't believe it. Kathy asked me to come to the house and keep making the film.
Boxing Day, he felt just terribly weak and sick, and said his stomach felt heavy. He just said he would put up with it. It was as cold as ice, really as cold as ice. And then about 10 to 2, he called Alice and I were sitting talking, 10 to 2 in the morning. Alice and I were sitting talking in the kitchen, and he called for us, and we went up. And by the time we got up there, it was too late, and he was lying dead.
Liam spent his last night at home, surrounded by his children, Alice, Adam, and Daniel.
There's a picture of him on Christmas Eve, or Christmas Day night, just opposite Jack. And Sophie stuck as his lever.
We had a really, really nice night in the house. He told us one by one, how much he loved us and what he would want us to know if he was to drop dead in the morning was his term. So it's a real comfort that we had that time. A lot of people don't get that time to hear that.
I didn't even know that he sat you down individually. I think he must have.
I've talked about you, about how much he loved you. He talked about different family members.
Certainly over the last month or so, he'd been saying he'd never been happier in his life, which is a strange thing to have said, but he kept emphasising this.
When he got into his Buddhism, I think he changed quite a lot.
Zen was a big influence. He used to say quite frequently, I'm not scared of death. And I'm sure he said that to all of you.
He did.
He said he wasn't scared of death, but the thought that distressed him was the thought of separation from us.
It was strange to be there without Liam, but I could still feel his presence in the house. Liam had started to make plans for a Buddhist funeral. Although his children aren't Buddhists, they wanted to honour their dad's wishes as best they could.
As far as religions go, it's a pretty good one. It was more about your own personal journey and about bettering yourself rather than trying to follow a moral code.
I like believing in all the more mystical aspects of it. I think it's a good practice to do.
Did he believe in reincarnation?
I'm not sure. He Did he? Or
I don't think he totally believed in reincarnation. I think he did believe in the fact that once everything goes back down to the earth, everything is reused, but I don't necessarily believe that he thought that he would come back as another creature or come back again.
Where does wakes come into Buddhism?
I'm not sure, to be honest. It's just an Irish thing, so we're doing it. I don't know if they do it. Wakes in Buddhism.
Kathy was also preparing for Liam's body to come home.
We're just sorting out his clothes and his racketsu, which he's going to wear if you want to. I don't know if you've seen one before, but it's got his Zen name on it. Battle-scarred tiger in Zan Homon. The racketsu is symbolic of Buddhist robes, and you wear it. It's too big for me, but the idea is like this, and you fold your arms under it.
Is that goes on his body?
Yeah. And his hands will be folded under it. Do you know, I used to say the worst thing I ever did in my life was tell my mother and my father had died. This is worse. It's far too tight. No, seriously, I want him looking like himself, and he would have wanted it too. That's a bit better, sticking up. His hair was always sticking up, no matter when he just got it done. Oh. Thank you so much for what you wrote, Garrett. Liam would have loved it. You just captured him.
After Liam returned home, a procession of relatives and friends arrived to celebrate his life.
Adam, take Betty and Jean in to see your daddy. I can't hear me.
Liam looks so peaceful. People do.
Someone is dead.
Oh.
They're only early ones.
Oh, that's where is that, Heather? Do you know?
Don't know where that is. That's Dundalk as well, but...
yeah. And look at the old... He talked about that car. I don't know if it's a Wolsey or Morris Minor or what.
And that's just another little one. That's all we had. But they're nice.
Oh, they're so lovely. The Good Funeral Guide, he sent away for it. Everything you need to know, everything you need to do. So that's how he planned it. Our funeral directors really like that. How much do they earn? Why are they usually men? You don't think there's anything for Zen ceremonies in this?
It had felt like a traditional wake. I had almost forgotten that Liam and Kathy were Buddhists. Now the Zen rituals that comforted Liam in life would also mark his death. Liam's Buddhist friends gathered in the front room to meditate. They were preparing for the transition from living with Liam to living without him.
Liam Clarke. That was kind of sudden. But I can't help thinking it's probably what you wanted. You have entered the great crossing over. Through countless lives, may your practice, your wisdom, your love be forever one. we say goodbye to the Liam we knew. And we say hello to the new Liam, the Liam that we will meet and see in the trees, in the grass, in the rain, and in the sun.
After the intimacy of the Buddhist ceremony, it was time for Liam's family to make the journey to what would be a very public funeral. As the mourners squeezed into the crematorium, it was clear that Liam had made an impact, not just on those he loved, but on Northern Ireland as well. Among the rows of familiar faces, the most important person for the family was Liam's dad. I know how they wrestled with finally telling him the truth. They decided it was right for them all to be together. Funerals don't only mark an ending. For Kathy and the family, it was also a beginning of a life without Liam.
Do not break into a run here.
It's been 5 months since Liam's funeral. The family have come to Donegal to scatter his ashes.
Well, that's perfect. Oh, wow, look at that. I quite like this place, though, I have to say.
I like it too. But it's blowing this way, so it's a really big practicality that
Well, we can't do anything about it. We can't change what way the wind's blowing. Boys, Alice, hang on a minute. Yeah, that's the bit I saw. You could walk across that. What do you think?
Easy, but that's up quite high into the precipice. You have to
A precipice. It's like natural steps. God, Daddy, you're definitely a glass half empty. Watch out for the precipice.
It's not the most Buddhist of symbols.
No. I should have brought a wee bit out here. Well, when are we good to go?
What makes you sure? Hello, the winds.
Alice, I've never done it before. You know what you do. You do the best you can. And that's just do what feels right to you.
Liam Clarke looked death in the eye and did not blink. I was reminded of a story he told me before he died.
He was a well-known Zen teacher. I believe it was Kodo Sawaki. One lady went up to him and said, through this I've been worried about dying constantly as I sit in silent meditation. And he said, don't worry, you will die. There's a strange comfort in that, looking things squarely. We all will die. We all know we will, but it's just a question of when.
Liam's family let me into the heart of their grief, something we will all have to face. I started this film preparing to see darkness, but what I witnessed was light.